I'm gonna believe that that's recording. Hello, everybody. This is Sword Donald Goofy 99 coming at you guys with a new different video idea that I've been thinking about for a little bit. And the more I think about it, I really should research it more, but the video title should pretty much say what it is, as last time. It's how good would Ben Tennyson do against the main villains from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I pretty much caught up with everything about a month or two ago at this point. As far as the anime, as far as the manga, I have not read the manga exclusive parts yet. So brief disclaimer, we won't be talking about D4C or Wonder Review. As much as some of you might want me to do that, I don't feel confident doing that until I've at least, either read the manga or seen some kind of anime adaptation of them, if you know what I'm trying to say. Alright, here's what I think is... And I think I should probably tackle them in part order. I mean, as far as this stands, when it comes to Ben, well, yes, Ben does not have a stand to use. That much is true. I wouldn't... I mean, people with stands can be defeated by non-stand users, despite the fact that only a stand can beat another stand. Well, that might be the case, but I want to see if I can come up with some kind of other way to beat them besides just giving Ben a stand. And plus, I wouldn't even know exactly what it would do. That is a very speculative kind of thing, to be honest. Would it be powerful? Yeah, I'm sure, and probably just as versatile as its power set. But of course, since they can't put Ben into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or suddenly have Stan show up in Ben 10, we're just gonna do this, I guess. Now, as far as Phantom Blood, what was it? Yeah, part 1 Dio, as far as Phantom Blood, I don't think that would be an easy fight for Ben to handle, especially with, some of the other special powers Dio seemed to have. You could, freeze people just by touching him. He had, laser beam eyes powered by blood that he sucked up from people. And he couldn't really be shot directly in half. He was, talking as his head was, still kind of splitting. It was kind of freaky, which is where I know Bizarre Adventure kind of comes from, but, you know. It's JoJo's for you. Okay. Yes, Hamon was the main way that they defeated Dio. They had the Hamon power, Jonathan had the Hamon powered pluck sword of pluck. Instead of sword of luck he got from a Blueford, whatever people want to call him. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Ben does have, fire, which, of course, Dio did. I want to say he kind of had an issue with. He was, tossed into the fire, and it seemed to kind of hurt him, at least from the recollections that I have. I might have to re-record this video now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm sure he would need far more than Heat Blast or Swamp Fire to beat Part 1 Dio. He'd need to, try to match up to his powers in whatever way he could. Now, this Part 1 Dio is one of the fights I don't think he necessarily needs Alien X to win. Exactly. Now, it could just turn into, way big stomping on him. Atomics might have to actually basically donut Dio with, big atomic fist punch, or NRG would have to come out of his armor, start shooting him with some solar radiation beams. And I really should have thought about this more, but I think Ben has more of a chance to beat Part 1 Dio than Part 1 Dio has a chance of beating Ben. And he could still suck the blood out of Ben's aliens. Maybe he could get... Maybe Dio could even get some kind of extra boost from drinking alien blood. Or sucking them out, kind of like he did to Joseph in Part 3. But I don't know if he could always do that, especially back then. Dio is, like, insanely strong. And he also could, like, resurrect the dead into, like, zombie form. And that was pretty freaking crazy, yet again. And what was another one? Was there some... I feel like... Yeah, he made, like, chimera creations out of things that he just felt like doing. There's, like, a bird head on a cat. I think a guy head on a... Like a human head on a dog body. Dio was, very experimental and kind of psycho back in those days, if he wasn't already psycho and crazy in Stardust Crusaders, which I will get to Stardust Crusaders Dio in a second, but I just think it's very feasible that Ben could defeat a Part 1 Dio. You know, all of this is going right off my head. I have not really done any research on a lot of these, like, at all. It's more like me just kind of talking off the top of my head going, okay, best way that I think Ben could win is that it would be this kind of difficulty. Now, could Part 1 Dio maybe eventually win? Maybe if he got enough blood and alien energy out of Ben, perhaps, but I don't see Ben being that stupid to allow him to suck all that kind of energy out of him. Like, he is not that smart, but he's definitely smarter than, like, some other... Well, I do think he's smarter than the show kind of seems to lead on sometimes, and he clearly has, like, a really good memory. He's had enough fighting experience. I think Ben's probably been a hero longer than Jonathan had been using Hamon at that point. If anything, Ben would have an easier time against Dio than Jonathan would. Even though Jonathan was, like, pretty much Hamon prodigy, almost. He grabbed onto those skills like that. Seemingly. So it's not that Jonathan's bad, it's just that I think that Ben would have a bit less difficulty. And that's what I mainly want to get across. Now, when it comes to cars, especially Ultimate Lifeform cars, that... There's only, like, two feasible ways that I could see him defeating... There's only two ways that I could see Ben defeating cars. He could, like, go Alien X and, like, Zahando him out of existence or something. That might work if he does it quickly enough. Or he actually, like, kind of does what Joseph did, except he uses Gravitax to, like, launch cars into deep space that way, since he cannot survive in outer space conditions, as was previously shown. I mean, yeah, sure, Hamon, fires, you know, really bright, the source of really bright ultraviolet light no longer hurts Ultimate Lifeform cars. And I'm considering just Ultimate Lifeform cars here specifically. I mean, yeah, sure, regular, like, cars before he became the Ultimate Lifeform would still be very difficult for Ben to handle, I think. But he does have defenses and counters, so, like, the arm blade and, kind of the other Pillar Man skills. I know that WAMU and AC/DC could still be considered factors if cars were involved. But if we're strictly speaking just Ultimate Lifeform cars, I actually tried to think about this one a bit. Like, because if it's Ultimate Lifeform cars in the JoJo universe specifically, then he wouldn't have anything, like, more than he had in a battle tendency against Joseph. I don't think he'd have any more skills, but if we brought cars into the Ben 10 universe, okay, having an arsenal of all of Ben's transformations in his DNA, plus pretty much whatever species exists out there in that universe in his DNA. He can call on those skills. He can enhance the durability, multiply, and on top of all that, like, insane regeneration. There's really no way you're stopping cars unless you can instantly vaporize him or you can throw him into deep space in like an instant, practically. Although Joseph kept them distracted long enough by witty banter alone, because Joseph is Joseph and he's absolutely insane, and you gotta love Joseph no matter what. But I don't think Ben has the exact charisma, quote unquote, stats that Joseph would. I mean, yeah, sure, you could keep cars talking for a bit, but even then, you could, like, there are species in Ben 10, like in the Ben 10 universe, that can survive being thrown into space. Like, even Vilgax survived getting thrown into space. So, can you attribute it to him wearing his, like, breather mask? Sure. But he was out in space for a long time after she could the Omnitrix and still came back. Yeah, not much extra problem there, not much extra discussion there. I mean, he's just... Like, I only see Ben winning in, like, two different ways. Instant atomization, instant freezing, or Gravitax just goes, whoop, and then he's gone. I mean, you can't beat him with pure brawn. You can't beat him with, like, any element except clearly cold. But I don't think Big Chill or Arctic Guana could freeze him that quickly. Or like, quickly enough to where space was there and he'd still, like, be exposed to oxygen and could still breathe. Apparently the ultimate life form can't survive space, but when you look at Frieza and, Frieza's floating in space, you got, like, Ghost Freak, the Mummy, and Dr. Victor being able to work in space too. It's kind of like, well... And clearly he doesn't have alien in his DNA. I mean, even the panels and the story said, oh, he has the powers of every living creature on Earth. Probably undiscovered as well, for all we know. So, yeah, Ultimate Cars, in pretty much every situation, I think Cars kind of got it. Unless Ben can instantly vaporize him, actually freeze him quickly enough to make sure he can't ever move again, or whoop, bye-bye. Those are, like, the only things that Ben could do against Cars. Part 3 Dio, he didn't really use any of his Part 1 vampire skills. I would assume that he would still be able to use most of them. Like, he was sucking blood out of old Joseph's body to become his awakened, powered-up state, which gave him green lipstick. And he lost his jacket. And he had a gold aura, kind of like Super Saiyan, so that's a thing. Although the main ability that Part 3 Dio has is Zawaldo, which would freeze time for, like, any, like, 11, like, 9, 11 seconds. I mean, yeah, that would give Dio a decent edge, but I'm very inclined to say that a lot of Ben's, like, really durable aliens could survive Dio moving in Time Stop. And this is where I think Clockwork could actually really come in handy for Ben specifically, because he could just, like, if he knows, like say Ben is working with the Stardust Crusaders and he saw Kakyoin, like, shoot the clock to give the hint that Joseph figured out, then, Joseph would be like, oh, Dio can stop time. And Ben's like, oh wait, I have a guy for that. Hold on. Turns into Clockwork. And when the next time Dio goes, Zawaldo, Ben can, like, I guess, allow himself to move in that stop time at the same time, which, that really seemed to mess with Dio's head when Jotaro's arms seemed to, like, just be shifting around. because he thought he like put magnets in his sleeve somehow. I'm not sure JoJo had the time to do that, and if he did, it clearly psyched Dio out regardless. I mean, yeah, Dio's just as susceptible to getting psyched out as anyone else, even if he's a vampire. Like the 100, what do you want to say, roughly 120-year-old vampire? Something like that? I'm trying to account his human age into this too, and I guess that's roughly 120. That kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, all I'm saying is part 3 Dio, yeah, I think he's also pretty beatable. I mean, and I'm not counting Ben 10K with the Biomnitrix fusion ability that he has, even though if that was a factor, he could just go, clockwork, heat blast, counter to time, set Dio on fire or something. Like, clockwork could essentially stop time for himself, too, so... If there was one part in Omniverse where he could have just been using time to enhance his speed, at least that's what I thought he was doing, because some things were like still moving around in the time area that Clockwork just kind of summoned. So time stopping within the time stop. Ben could actually maybe do that. Now, it depends on how long Clockwork can actually stop time, because another member of his species could also stop time. So Clockwork, if he doesn't immediately know how to do it right now, could just try that and be able to move things and stop time like a Maltruant did. That was some stuff right there. Now, if you could combine it with, again, another heat source, some other kind of bright light, then yeah, you could. Yeah, I think you could totally do it, straight up. And I still think he would be harder than Part 1 Dio. It's like, vampires do get better with age. I'm assuming that he does hit harder. Because the world, or Zawaldo, can still move quick. He can still hit hard. He's still very durable, even if Star Platinum managed to shatter his leg, which meant shattering the rest of the stand. And Dio himself, his head exploded after that. So it's like, so yeah, so far, Part 1 Dio, I'd say very beatable. Cars, there's really only two ways Ben could do it. Otherwise, I think Cars could eventually just win in any other scenario if you cut Alien X or someone who can atomize him or freeze him out of the equation. I don't think just regular ice would just work. Now, Kira, that's... Jeff J himself said that Kira sucked at fighting, so Ben already has like a combat knowledge advantage that he can use. Pretty good. Sheer Heart Attack is just a normal bomb. I mean, if Kira knew about the watch beforehand, I think what he could try to do is use Killer Queen's ability to, like, turn the Omnitrix into a bomb. That would ruin Ben's day for sure. So that's one way Kira could defeat Ben. Killer Queen! You know? I don't think Sheer Heart Attack could do it. That just seemed like a regular bomb. And Killer Queen could just kind of atomize people, right? So if Killer Queen touches Ben or the Watch and somehow and can like blow them up. Although if he touched Ben and blew him up, the Omnitrix actually would bring him back if it was somehow still intact. Because Ben can't die as long as the Watch is on him, so you attach the you make like thinking too much here. Anyway, Kira touches the Omnitrix, and if the Omnitrix blows up before Ben dies, then yeah, Ben's dead. Now, Yeah, when it comes to like, normal fighting, I'm sure that if Ben used his intangible aliens like Ghost Freak, Big Chill, and probably Amphibian, he could get around Killer Queen trying to touch him, provided he knows what Killer Queen does. Like wrap himself around Kira, shock him. I mean, Kira still got pretty beat up, and as far as bites the dust, that's just a time looping ability, to my knowledge. I mean, Kira would win if he could somehow activate the bites the dust time loop on someone Ben's close to, and he's trying to investigate Kira. I'm very sure. So yeah, I mean, Kira does have the potential to win. It's just it really depends on certain things. If he touches the watch, boom. If he touches Ben and the watch brings him back, then Ben can just fight back, knowing, oh, so you can turn things into bombs just by touching them. Well, I'll just make you fight something you can't touch, Use Ghost Freak, possess him, make him beat himself up. Be one thing you could, freeze him entirely as Big Chill, and if it's, frozen, if he's frozen enough, he won't just be able to act, he'll just be, dead. I'm just saying Kira has an out. I didn't say it was a big one. And Bites the Dust is just a time loop ability that he cannot use at the same time as, normal Killer Queen or Sheer Heart Attack. And I'm not counting Stray Cat because that was a support ability from someone else, not Kira himself, although he definitely could secure Stray Cat for himself. And plus, if he did notice that, he could just zoom right in, swipe, go accelerate, swipe the cat out, do Zawaldo as clockwork, freeze time, take Stray Cat out of the chest cavity Killer Queen had. Or if Okuyasu was there, he could still just Zahando Stray Cat out of his gut, or gullet, whatever that area is. Gut or gullet in that case. Like, Killer Queen has no stomach or gut area. It's just like a big hole in there. I always thought Sheer Heart Attack was stored in there. At least, if I remember right, it was stored in there. It's been a while since I've seen Part 4. It's been a while since I've seen anything before Part 5. Now, Diavolo, or Doppio, essentially Diavolo. Now, Diavolo's ability, skip time. He's just not a factor until he decides to be, and you can see the future with his epitaph ability when he pulls his hair in front of him, which is kind of a silly ability, at least in the way it's executed. You can erase time for a bit. He sees into the future for 10 seconds. It's not like he has this massive scope of future sight like, I guess, Sapphire and Garnet from Steven Universe. I'm very sure Diablo cannot do that. At least he didn't show that he could. I mean, maybe if he got hit with this, maybe if he hit himself with a stand arrow again, he could do that and be able to use King Crimson for longer with some certainty. Diablo didn't really have he wasn't super duper strong. I mean, yeah, he could use King Crimson to punch straight through a Bacchio. He was able to kill Narancia in an instant. He pretty much nearly killed Bucciarati. I mean, the guy's got enough strength to, kill the normal person very easily. It's just Ben's durability in many of his forms makes me go okay. I doubt he could I doubt Diavolo could shatter Ben very easily. I mean, he could get away from Ben at least, kind of easily with the skip through time or erase time ability, however you want to describe it. I always thought he was just, cutting through time, letting some time pass, and then putting himself back in the moment where it's most advantageous to him. I mean, that's just what it seemed like to me. I didn't think it was time skip like Hit exactly. Because in Hit's time skip, his enemies are still like frozen. Diablo, he lets the ability play out. He lets the action play out for 10 seconds, puts himself back in the picture, and then, strikes his opponent when they're the most vulnerable after that. I mean, if he can get... No, even if he donuts Ben, the watch will be like, nope, Ben can't die, and then transform Ben into someone that should be able to deal with Diablo's abilities. I mean, like, there's no way he can do that to, like, Humongousaur or Forearms or... I mean, Clockwork's very vulnerable to electricity, and Diablo does not have any access to lightning abilities, so what Ben could do is, like, freeze time, fast forward to when Diablo's about to come out of the time stop, and right when Diablo thinks he's vulnerable, Ben transforms into, Shock Squatch, grabs him, unloads this massive amount of electricity in like a bear hug, and then Diablo's just kind of shocked into submission, I guess. Ben wouldn't flat out kill the guy, at least not immediately. But I think he has a better time handling Diablo than like Kira or Dio, and especially Cars. Like, at least Kira had a win condition, touch Ben's watch, but no. I still think Ben wins 9 times out of 10 when it comes to Kira. Diablo, he could escape the fight, at least if Ben doesn't realize what he's doing. You ever notice how many... pretty much after part 3, every villain had a time... some kind of ability that could, like, do something to time. Which, speaking of Poochie, okay, for White Snake, Ben doesn't have a stand, and the Omnitrix is not a stand. I'm not sure Poochie would even think that the watch is a stand. He'd probably just think it was a watch. And yeah, he could take Ben's memories out of him, which if he can do that stealthily, he can get Ben with White Snake. But, they probably get the disc back, shove it inside of Ben. Ben gets filled in on what happened, and then Ben would actually be on the lookout for that and probably use Accelerate and/or Cannonbolt, move just way too fast for Poochie to keep track of, and then take him out that way. Sea Moon? That's where I'm kind of stuck. I don't think countering Sea Moon with Gravitak would be that good a plan, especially with how big of a target Gravitak is. And if Sea Moon does manage to touch Gravitak gets turned inside out, which inside out of a rock. Well, considering you kind of see Gravitak's stomach in his gut, or like some kind of thing going on in his gut down there. Yeah, Gravitak would not handle that very well. And besides being able to punch bullets away like most stands, Seamoon didn't have much control over anything besides being able to, control all gravity around Poochie, more or less. I mean, he was able to move pretty far away from Poochie, too. It's actually hard for me to tell there. Like, if Ben can keep up with Poochie and Seamoon and, like, maybe exert more gravity than Seamoon is able to, then I suppose he can do it. As Gravitak, yeah. I didn't get to see a lot of Seamoon in Part 6. It was like that one episode, maybe 2, where Jolene and honestly were trying to deal with him. Yes, I do call him honestly because Anastasia is like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a good name for him. I think honestly it's a perfectly fine name, but that's beside the point. Now, Made in Heaven. Okay, I think Accelerate or Jet Ray could, or like, should be able to keep up with Poochie at first. Time isn't moving super fast yet. It wasn't moving very fast when Poochie initially got Made in Heaven. I don't know if it was like just getting used to the fact that you can move time around. But yeah, kind of like Ultimate Cars. Made in Heaven is just like actually beyond broken. But eventually Poochie would just be able to outspeed, accelerate, and I would think even the durability of some of Ben's other aliens would not be able to deal with the massive speed Poochie can get out, especially from what he showed later in the fight. And so all of Ben's normal aliens would be like doing next to nothing to Poochie. Now, if it came to, there's really only two aliens that I can see defeating Poochie: Clockwork and Alien X. If Clockwork can like overpower Made in Heaven's time acceleration somehow, then yeah, I could see Clockwork kind of taking care of it, like pulling Zawaldo for a much longer time, possibly even bringing. Okay, that's assuming Ben's actually working with the Stone Ocean cast to deal with him. If it was just Ben by himself, then he'd have to turn himself into Echo Echo, and Poochie would probably prevent him from getting too many Echo Echoes to like make Clockworks, and then like an army of other aliens to like knock his butt on the floor. But if Ben goes Alien X and like stops all time around himself to where Poochie can't even move anymore, then I think Ben can actually do something. Straight up. Now, and then, Made in Heaven Poochie, or New Moon Poochie, whatever you want to call him, I think he'd just be, like, beaten at that point. Ben could, Alien X could just straight up rip someone's stand out of them, probably. Probably just do that to Poochie right then and there, and then, restore the flow of time to normal, and then Made in Heaven just toast. And then Poochie's a standless man after that, and now whether or not Ben would kill him, I'm not 100% sure he would. Ben is not the killing type. That doesn't make him a bad character per se. I just don't recall him. I don't recall like the last time Ben like actually seriously killed somebody. There's like Eon and Race Against Time, but that was like a non-canon movie. I mean, heck, like Alien Swarm, that didn't happen. Someone did die on Ben 10, but it wasn't like Ben's issue. It was a different spider monkey guy getting eaten by a shark. And no, not Simeon. It was like the current leader of the arachnid chimp race. It's like, you have not heard the last of Mizoru, Nom. Yeah, we've heard the last of him. That's one of the best moments in the show right there. Alright. But in summarization, I'm just finding it hard to kind of see. Like, I don't think any of these are easy fights for Ben at all. That's why I was trying to think about it. Like, could Ben lose, and if he could, how? And how fun would it be to envision Ben actually dealing with these villains? Because the ensemble from part 1 to part 6, as far as villains, is, I think, pretty fun. Pretty fun to consider, pretty fun imagining, oh, this would be like a good fight. could Ben take care of these guys? With the fact that Ben wouldn't necessarily be able to see stands really get in the way. Oh yeah, the fact that he can't see stands definitely would get in the way, but like if they tell him what it is, he might at least be able to go, okay, they're using abilities I can't see, and if I at least know what they do, I should be able to take him. Which, yeah, would be true. Yeah. And obviously, Ben would not. I don't think Ben would kill Diablo, so, that ending. Diablo versus Ben is a non-canon fight, for obvious reasons. You would have had to see Part 5 and understand Gold Experience Requiem to understand what I'm saying by that. I assume at least some of you know that. Alright. Yeah, if you ask me, Ben against Part 1, put it all in, summary right now. Ben versus Part 1 Dio, I want to give more of the advantage to Ben, but I just think Ben wins there more often than he loses. Ultimate Cars, it heavily depends on which universe they're in. But either way, the only cases I see Ben winning are he goes grab attack, hurls Cars into deep space, and just calls it good, or Alien X snap, and then Cars is gone. Part 3 Dio, yeah, the time stop would be a pretty big concern, but I still think it's very doable, especially if he can hit Dio with enough light or can counter Clockwork well enough to time stop or something like that. I'm just saying if one version of someone in the same species can do it, then Ben has a reasonable chance of doing it himself. Kira, he does have a straight up win condition, but I'm not sure he would immediately go for it. Especially since the first time they meet, he won't know what the Omnitrix is. And I was trying to think Ben solo. I wasn't really trying to think, oh, if Ben started working with the main group in that part. Just, I don't know, maybe he has Rook as backup, but I'm not sure Rook is going to be much help against a lot of them, or any of them. I mean, maybe Dio from part 1, and I guess Cars before he gets the Stone Mask, he could, maybe the lasers from the Proto Tool could, sting them, because they're light energy, and I don't think the same kind of light energy that actually would burn them, from the sun at all, but it's something. Especially with the energy sword and energy arrow he had on it, but that is far beside the point. But yeah, Kira essentially has one win condition. You could just go, boop. Killer Queen has touched your Omnitrix. It's now a bomb. Wait, what? Boom! And then, blow up the watch. Then Ben would die because destroying the watch would mean that Ben doesn't have the ability to come back from the dead anymore. I mean, other than that, I think intangibility and, freezing could just stop Kira in his tracks and just call it a day. And Diablo, the only thing really holding Diablo back is the fact that at least I don't believe he's superhumanly strong. He is strong enough to, straight up kill someone in one attack with, Killer Crimson. King Crimson. Oh god, imagine if Kira and Diablo, fused. Killer Crimson. you get, Time skip combined with Killer Queen's bomb touch would be so busted. People wouldn't even know that they got touched before they blew up. Man. Ooh, that would be something right there. Yeah, I do believe that essentially Ben defeats Diablo, low-mid difficulty, if that's what low-mid diff means. Somewhere between low and mid difficulty. I think Ben can defeat Diablo without having to resort to Gold Experience Requiem. Alien X Requiem. But he's not a stand, so it doesn't work that way. And yeah, as far as Poochie, again, Clockwork and Alien X are like the only ones that I think would really matter against Poochie at all. So, either Clockwork completely stops time and manages to stop Poochie in its tracks, or he just goes Alien X, completely stops everything Poochie is doing. He doesn't even need to take Made in Heaven out of Poochie. I just think he just needs to stop him and then kick his butt, and that's kind of it. I mean, yeah, he has forms that can kind of initially keep up with Made in Heaven as far as speed, but eventually durability wouldn't matter. Eventually power wouldn't matter. He's just moving too fast to get hit. And yeah, Jet Ray having hyperspace speeds would not really help there. Poochie can't cover long distances faster. He can do close range faster. Which feels so weird saying that, but essentially the more he accelerates time, the faster he seems to go. At least that's what it seemed like to me. I'm not even sure he knew how much time was accelerating. He was just doing it because it's what Dio wanted him to do. Anyway, yep, this has been Sora Donald Goofy 99, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.